Everything you have been told about a healthy breakfast is making your gut worse. The cereal, the toast, the orange juice, the granola bar. Every single one of those foods is feeding the wrong bacteria in your intestines and slowly shutting down the immune system that is supposed to protect you from cancer, infections, and chronic disease. I know that sounds extreme, but I have spent 28 years watching patients transform their health by making one single change to their morning routine. And I am going to show you the science behind why this works and exactly how to do it. But before I do, let me ask you something. When was the last time you thought about the bacteria living inside your gut? Most people never think about it, and yet there are roughly 38 trillion bacteria living in your digestive system right now. That is more bacteria than you have human cells. These are not invaders. They are workers. They produce vitamins. They train your immune cells. They communicate directly with your brain. They regulate inflammation. And what you eat for breakfast determines which ones thrive and which ones die. Here is the problem. The standard American breakfast is loaded with refined carbohydrates and sugars, white flour, processed grains, added sugars. These feed a very specific group of bacteria that produce inflammatory compounds. Over time, this creates a state called dysbiosis, which means the balance between beneficial and harmful bacteria has tipped in the wrong direction. And once dysbiosis takes hold, the consequences cascade. Your gut lining starts to break down. Inflammatory molecules leak into your bloodstream. Your immune system goes into overdrive, attacking things it should not be attacking and missing things it should be catching. This is the gateway to autoimmune disease, to chronic inflammation, and increasingly, to cancer. And the terrifying part is that it happens silently. You feel nothing at first. There is no alarm bell, no sudden symptom. It happens like rust forming on the underside of a car. By the time you see it, the damage has been accumulating for years. Every morning you sit down to that bowl of processed cereal, you are adding another layer of rust. I am Dr. Margaret Hale, 28 years in integrative medicine and clinical nutrition. And today, I am going to tell you about the single most effective dietary intervention I have ever seen for rebuilding gut health after 60. It is not a supplement. It is not a medication. It is a category of food that humans have been eating for thousands of years, and modern science is finally explaining why it works so well. Let me tell you about a man named Gerald, 68 years old, retired postal worker from Baltimore. Gerald came to me with a list of problems that would fill a notebook. Constant bloating, gas after every meal, acid reflux so bad he slept propped up on 3 pillows, joint pain in his hands and knees. He caught every cold that came through his neighborhood. His previous doctor had him on 4 different medications: an antacid, an anti-inflammatory, an antibiotic for recurring sinus infections, and a sleep aid because the reflux kept him up at night. His energy was so low that he had stopped volunteering at the local food bank, something he had done every Saturday for 15 years. His wife told me she was worried because he had become a different person. Quiet, withdrawn, always in pain or in the bathroom. Nobody had ever asked Gerald what he ate for breakfast. It was the same thing every day for 40 years. 2 slices of white toast with margarine, a bowl of cornflakes with skim milk, and a glass of orange juice. He thought he was being healthy. The first thing I did was change his breakfast. I replaced the toast with a cup of plain whole milk kefir. I replaced the cornflakes with a small portion of sauerkraut alongside 2 scrambled eggs. And I replaced the orange juice with water. That was it. That was the entire intervention for the first 4 weeks. No new supplements, no medications added, no expensive treatments. Just one meal changed. Gerald looked at me like I was joking. He said, "Doctor, You are telling me that eating sauerkraut for breakfast is going to fix what 4 medications could not. I told him to give me 8 weeks. If nothing improved, we would try something else. He agreed, mostly because he was desperate and nothing else had worked. Now let me walk you through the science of why this works. And I have 4 major studies that explain what happened inside Gerald's body. Study number 1. Stanford University School of Medicine, published in the journal Cell in 2021. This is one of the most important nutrition studies of the last decade. 36 healthy adults were randomized into 2 groups. One group ate a high-fiber diet. The other group ate a diet rich in fermented foods, specifically yogurt, kefir, fermented cottage cheese, kimchi, kombucha, vegetable brine drinks, and other fermented vegetables. The study lasted 17 weeks. Now here is what they found. The fermented foods group showed a significant increase in gut microbial diversity. That is the number of different species living in the gut. More diversity means a more resilient, more functional microbiome. Think of it like an ecosystem. A forest with 200 species of plants is far more resilient to drought than a field with only one crop. The same principle applies to your gut. But the finding that made headlines was this. The fermented foods group showed decreased levels of 19 inflammatory proteins in their blood. 19. Including interleukin-6, which is directly linked to chronic disease, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. The high-fiber group, surprisingly, did not show the same reduction in inflammation. Fiber is important. I will never tell you not to eat fiber, but for rapidly reducing systemic inflammation and expanding the diversity of your microbiome, fermented foods outperformed it clearly and consistently. The lead researcher described the results as remarkable. In just 10 weeks, a dietary change, not a drug, not a supplement, a food, reduced inflammatory markers that are associated with the most deadly diseases affecting seniors today. Imagine what happens over 6 months, over a year, over a decade of consistent fermented food consumption. If someone you love over 60 is dealing with constant bloating, joint pain, or they seem to catch every bug going around, send them this video today. This one change could be the turning point they have been looking for. Study number 2, a meta-analysis published in Frontiers in Nutrition in 2026. Researchers analyzed data from multiple prospective cohort studies examining the relationship between fermented food consumption, all-cause mortality, and cause-specific mortality. The findings were striking. Higher intake of fermented foods was associated with a significant reduction in all-cause mortality. Let me say that in plain language. People who regularly eat fermented foods live longer, period. The meta-analysis pointed to several mechanisms. Fermented foods contain live microorganisms that colonize the gut and produce beneficial metabolites. They contain organic acids, bioactive peptides, and phenolic compounds that directly modulate immune function. They strengthen the intestinal barrier, reducing what researchers call endotoxemia, which is the leakage of bacterial toxins from the gut into the bloodstream. This is especially important as you age, because the gut lining naturally becomes more permeable over time. Researchers call this phenomenon inflammaging, the combination of a weakening gut barrier and increasing systemic inflammation that happens as we get older. It is not inevitable. It is a consequence of diet and lifestyle, and the most direct way to reverse it is to repopulate your gut with the organisms that maintain the barrier. Fermented foods deliver those organisms in quantities that supplements cannot match. A single cup of kefir can contain between 12 and 34 different strains of beneficial bacteria and yeast. Most probiotic supplements contain between 1 and 10. And the bacteria in fermented foods arrive in a food matrix that protects them through your stomach acid, so more of them actually reach your intestines alive. I have taken everything I know about rebuilding gut health, immune function, and cellular repair, and put it into one guide, the Reversal Protocol. It is my complete morning-to-night system, not just what to eat, but when, how much, and why each step matters. The link is in the pinned comment below. Study number 3, published in the British Medical Journal. A large-scale study following over 90,000 adults in Japan found that higher intake of fermented soy products, specifically miso and natto, was associated with approximately 10% lower risk of all-cause mortality. But the finding that caught my attention was the cancer connection. A separate analysis published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that among women with breast cancer, those who consumed more fermented soy foods had significantly lower rates of recurrence and mortality. The researchers attributed this to the way fermentation transforms isoflavones into more bioavailable forms that the body can actually use. Raw soy has one chemical profile. Fermented soy has an entirely different one. The bacteria do the conversion work for you. If you are finding this video helpful, subscribe to the channel. I publish new research-based content every week, and every video builds on the last. The more you understand about how your body works, the better decisions you can make. Study number 4. NK cell activity. Natural killer cells are your body's first line of defense against cancer and viral infections. They patrol your bloodstream looking for cells that have gone wrong, either infected by a virus or turning cancerous, and they eliminate them before they can spread. A comprehensive review found that fermented food ingestion significantly enhances NK cell activity. This means eating fermented foods does not just improve your digestion. It actively strengthens the army of cells that hunts and destroys cancer cells in your body every single day. For seniors over 60, whose NK cell function naturally declines with age, this is extraordinary. You are essentially retraining a declining military force by changing what you eat for breakfast. I think about this with every patient over 60 who walks through my door. Their immune system is not broken, it is malnourished. It is starving for the signals that only a healthy, diverse gut microbiome can provide. Feed the microbiome, and the immune system wakes up. It is that direct. Now here is the exact protocol, and I want you to start small, because this is one area where too much too fast can backfire. Step 1. Start with 1 tablespoon of sauerkraut or kimchi per day with your breakfast, not the kind from the regular grocery shelf that has been pasteurized. You want raw, unpasteurized, refrigerated, fermented vegetables. The label should say live cultures or naturally fermented. Pasteurization kills all the beneficial bacteria. You are essentially eating dead vegetables that taste sour, but provide none of the microbiome benefits. Step 2. After 1 week, add half a cup of plain kefir or plain whole milk yogurt, not the flavored kind, not the kind with fruit on the bottom. Those contain between 15 and 25 grams of added sugar per serving, which feeds the exact bacteria you are trying to suppress. Plain, unsweetened. If you need flavor, add a handful of fresh berries or a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Step 3. By week 3, you should be consuming 2 to 3 servings of fermented foods per day. 1 serving at breakfast, 1 at lunch or dinner. Rotate between sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, plain yogurt, miso soup, and if you can find it, natto. Variety matters because different fermented foods contain different bacterial strains. You want as many different species colonizing your gut as possible. Step 4. Support the new bacteria with prebiotic fiber. This is the food your good bacteria eat to survive and multiply. Garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, bananas that are still slightly green, and oats. You do not need a prebiotic supplement. You just need to eat real food that feeds the colonies you are building. Think of it this way. The fermented foods are the settlers arriving in a new town. The prebiotic fiber is the farmland that keeps them fed. Without the farmland, the settlers leave. You need both. Step 5. Eliminate or drastically reduce the 3 gut destroyers. Artificial sweeteners, which have been shown to disrupt microbial balance even in small amounts. Unnecessary antibiotics, which carpet bomb your gut ecosystem. And ultra-processed foods, which are engineered to feed harmful bacteria at the expense of beneficial ones. Now let me tell you the 3 biggest mistakes people make with fermented foods. Mistake number 1. Buying pasteurized products and thinking they count. I cannot stress this enough. If it is sitting on a regular shelf at room temperature, it has been pasteurized. The bacteria are dead. You are getting the flavor, but none of the benefits. Real fermented food is in the refrigerated section. Mistake number 2. Starting too fast. Your gut bacteria need time to adjust. If you go from 0 fermented foods to 3 servings a day overnight, you are going to experience significant bloating, gas, and discomfort. This is not because fermented foods are bad for you. It is because you are introducing billions of new organisms into an ecosystem that is not ready for them. Start with 1 tablespoon. Build over 3 to 4 weeks. Mistake number 3. Choosing flavored yogurt and thinking it is the same. A container of strawberry yogurt from the grocery store typically contains more sugar than a candy bar. Sugar is the primary fuel for the inflammatory bacteria you are trying to eliminate. You are pouring gasoline on the fire you are trying to put out. Always choose plain, unsweetened versions and add your own fruit if you need sweetness. A handful of blueberries or a sliced banana will give you natural sweetness plus prebiotic fiber that actually helps the beneficial bacteria grow. The difference between a sugary yogurt and a plain yogurt with berries is the difference between feeding your enemy and feeding your army. Mistake number 4. Thinking a probiotic pill replaces fermented food. Probiotic supplements have their place, especially after a round of antibiotics, but they typically contain a narrow range of strains in small quantities compared to what you get from a diverse rotation of fermented foods. A good quality sauerkraut can contain over 20 different bacterial species. Most supplements contain 5 to 10. And the food matrix of fermented vegetables and dairy provides the bacteria with organic acids and nutrients that help them survive the journey through your digestive tract. A pill dissolved in stomach acid is fighting for its life. Bacteria wrapped in fermented cabbage have armor. Tell me in the comments, what do you eat for breakfast right now? I am genuinely curious because the patterns I see help me create better videos for you. And if you have been eating fermented foods, tell me what changes you have noticed. I read every single comment. Let me tell you what happened to Gerald. After 8 weeks on the protocol, his bloating was gone. Completely gone. His acid reflux had improved so much that his gastroenterologist reduced his antacid dose by half and told Gerald to keep doing whatever he was doing. His blood work showed a measurable decrease in C-reactive protein, which is one of the primary markers of systemic inflammation. It had dropped by almost 40% in 2 months. His joint pain, which he had attributed to arthritis and age, had decreased significantly. But the thing that surprised him most was that he went through an entire winter without a single cold. 40 years at the post office, he told me, and I caught everything every year. This is the first winter I did not miss a single day volunteering at the food bank. When I asked him what was different, he laughed and said all I did was change breakfast. His wife called me the following week. She was crying. She said she had her husband back. The man who told jokes at the dinner table. The man who insisted on walking the dog every evening even when it was cold. the man she thought she had lost to age and illness. He was right there the whole time. His body just needed the right fuel. That is the power of fermented foods. They are inexpensive. They are available everywhere. They have been consumed by the longest-lived populations on Earth for centuries. The Japanese eat miso and natto daily. The Koreans eat kimchi with every meal. The Bulgarians and Georgians, some of the longest-lived people on Earth, consume kefir and fermented dairy as dietary staples. The common thread in every blue zone, every region where people regularly live past 90, is fermented food. And now, the clinical science confirms what traditional cultures have known for generations. Your gut is the command center of your immune system, and what you feed it determines whether it protects you or destroys you. If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it with someone whose breakfast is still toast and cereal. And if you want my complete protocol for rebuilding your body from the inside out, morning to night, the reversal protocol is waiting for you in the pinned comment. I also have another video ready about a cheap dessert that most people think is unhealthy, but actually unclogs your blood vessels. I think it will surprise you. This is Dr. Margaret Hale. Your gut built you. It trained your immune system when you were an infant. It has been communicating with every organ in your body every single day of your life. Now it is time to rebuild your gut. And the best part is, you can start tomorrow morning. 1 tablespoon. That is all it takes to begin.